It's 8:32, Chuck. You
All
can
right, are we
take
ready
it
to
away
roll?
today. We're ready.
All right, okay. So super excited today. I get excited about a lot of the Fired Up Fridays, but today I think is really awesome because we've got such great people on to talk about listings. And I think as the market adjusts a tad bit and as we start to move into a situation where listings are maybe sitting a little bit longer, instead of 1 day, it's 6 days or 14 days. It's just important that we have it set up right so we are completely dialed in on our listings. We know how to get more listings with our listings. We got great presentations. We know what questions to ask before we go on the listings. We know what we need to be doing when we get back.
Sorry, I muted you, Chuck. I'm sorry. You were on a roll too.
Hey, good job, Liz. Take over.
Sorry. Where were we at? Where were we at?
Chuck, you're muted.
I'm muted.
There, you're back. You're back. I am so sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure the last thing you guys heard, but basically today's about 4 things. Number 1, what do we do when we first get the call and you get a listing? Somebody wants you to come over and interview or potentially just take the listing. Number 2, what things do we do when we're at the listing? Number 3, what things do we do when we get back to the office after we've listed the property? And number 4, what do we do when it gets ready to close? So what are the steps with the listings to make sure that we're optimizing them, that we're getting them, that no one else does, that we win our listing presentations? And so that being the case, we were talking yesterday about trying to bring in some super studs to talk about it a little bit and talk about what are people doing before the listing? Are they dropping off pre-listing packages? What do they look like? What do you do when you're at the listing? And so today we have Sarah Heck, correct? Sarah, are you out there?
I am. Good morning.
All right. So good morning. Good morning. We're excited. Thank you very much for being here. And then we also have Janie Krisofi. If you can switch over here, this is Janie. Janie has been with Coldwell Banker for how long?
31 years.
She's been with Coldwell Banker for 31 years, guys, and she is still improving her listing presentations constantly. When I talked to her yesterday, she said you just added a bunch more tools, right?
For sure.
Okay, and she really uses the Coldwell Banker tools to the max on top of the way she does it. And then we also have just a quick minute from Vicki Carpenter, who I think has a fantastic pre-listing package that she drops off. So Vicki, are you on? Vicki Carpenter?
I am.
All right,
Good morning.
welcome Vicki, hi. Who's ready to talk about listings? Liz, are we ready?
I'm ready. And it's funny because this morning, literally like at 8 o'clock in the morning, I got a text from a past client that said, "Hey Liz, this is so-and-so, I'm married to so-and-so, and I was wondering if you'd like to list our house. We want to sell it." And I was like, how funny, what a coincidence, right?
That's a good day. Hey, that's how every morning should start.
It's a great Friday.
That is a good Friday. No wonder you're all happy and excited. I like it. I like it. So, so here's what I was hoping to do. And here's what I have, Liz, and I just to kind of talk about what we've got going on. I have a complete checklist of what to do prior to the listing when you first get the call, what to have prepared when you go, what to have prepared when you get back, and what to have prepared once it sells. But I thought we would kind of go through an interview and ask people questions first. And then, if we have time, kind of start going through that checklist. Does that sound good?
That's perfect.
Okay, so we'll start out with Vicki. Vicki, do you mind just giving us a quick couple of minutes of what your pre-listing book looks like and how you work it? Vicki Carpenter.
Well, I started working it way back. I used to go when I first started, and I think, Janie, you have me by about a few years being in the business. I've been in the business since '91. And the one thing, we didn't have training programs, companies, it was kind of on the job training. So I spent, money going to seminars and conferences and trying to find my way, my niche. And one of the things that I think it was Walter Sanford, he said, you need to set yourself out apart and you need to leave a piece of you behind and give something to them that's tangible and valuable that they can look at. So with that, I started a book. I came across it several years ago in an old box, and I can't even believe how bad it was. I just put it together, copied things. I Polaroid picture, especially prepared for you, Polaroid picture on the front. But like you said, Chuck, even a bad video is better than no video when you're doing social marketing and you're getting yourself out there. So I was the only one that I know of that actually had their own personalized listing book. Coldwell Banker came several years later, and they had a generic one that the agents could take. It was a notebook that you could take to the property with them. But I actually started mine. It was stapled initially. I would drop it off in advance I would drop it off at the house a day or two, or even the morning of, if I got the call in the morning and I was going in the afternoon. And then it kind of evolved from there. And I know Jennifer Murphy also has a little book. If you want, Chuck, I can kind of briefly just kind of give you a snippet of what I put out. Now I've integrated it with Moxie, but I can show you kind of what I can share my screen and just give you a really quick overview of what was in my listing packet, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Give us the Cliff Notes version. Let's take a look.
You got it. So at any rate, one of the things that I did was kind of brand myself. And the first thing that kind of resonated with me, I had just been to the White House. And so I thought, I saw this, the only house I can't sell. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So that's where it started, especially prepared for you. And then I would just throw in the role of a realtor, the value of marketing, the power of blue, what buyers and sellers, usual costs, the life of an escrow, all that, and then of course my testimonials and such. So that was it. What usually was in the packet that I would drop off, and this is what I knew, that when I got there, basically no one else would have had that. Another agent would not have had that. I already set the bar. I set the bar, I hope, higher than the other agents, and I would say 8.5 out of 10 times I walked away with the listing. And then it's evolved to Moxie. I've now taken the good thing about Moxie is that you can now customize, put your own slides in there, where in the beginning you couldn't, you were limited to 1 or 2. So now Moxie is more about my version of my listing book and incorporated with all of the Coldwell Banker tools. So the main thing is that it's tangible. It's something that they have in advance. Of course, in today's world, I don't drop it off anymore. I actually email it to them. And but I still like to have something that's customized and about me. So that's kind of how I started.
Nice, nice. Okay, Sarah Heck, do you do anything prior to going on the actual listing appointment itself? Any information that you send out pre-listing appointment?
I do. So I don't know. Oh, hi, I'm there. Good morning. So prior to taking a listing, generally you get a phone call from somebody, and I tend to be mostly referral based. So it's usually coming from somebody else. So I'll try to create that rapport with whoever our common person is. But one of the things I like to do is in the initial phone calls, I try to keep my initial phone calls semi-brief. I want to know, their address, what they've upgraded on the property, because as they talk about what they've done to the property over the years, you can get a real good sense of their pride of ownership. Do they feel like those Corian countertops that they put in 10 years ago are really going to bump that price? Or do they feel like the upgrades they did 10 years ago are now semi-irrelevant? And that is a really good basis for me to kind of be able to set my expectations when I go in for the actual listing appointment. So I try to draw questions that are, it's not necessarily the answers that I'm looking for, it's the way they're telling me, so that I know how to, meet them at their level when we actually get to meet in person. So I take that initial information, and then what the one question that I care the most about is, do you have an idea of what you think your home is worth? I want to know in that initial conversation, before I've seen their house, before I've met with them and shown them all I can do, what they think. Because again, when I go to meet with them, I'll have a much better idea of what their expectation is of me selling their home, or anybody selling their home. Are they getting their numbers close to what I think, or am I going to have to rein them in a little? So that my first thing I do is, kind of just some basic questions, so that I can then create a listing package that they're going to be responsive to.
Nice, nice. Robert, can you throw up, can you throw up that first slide right there? I just wanted to show you guys something, and I think this falls in line with what you were saying, is these right here are some questions that I wanted to give you guys. These are pre-listing questions, just basic things like when you get on the phone, that if you keep on the front of your folder, I'm sure you guys all have a checklist of how you do that, but things like, why are you selling? Are there any interior, exterior upgrades? What do you think your home is worth? Exactly what you said, right? Are you planning on interviewing other agents? I think that's a big one too, right? You need to know, like, am I going up against anyone else, or am I just walking? No, we're just talking to you, Cool. That tells me it's going to be a different story, right, Janie?
Yeah.
So, do you have a mortgage? If so, how much do you owe on your loan? Pull the MLS tax data to make sure that it matches up with what they're saying. What are the profile? Verify the owner's names on the deed, because how many times have we gone out and find out that it's actually not the person that has the right to sell the deed? Your Moxie CMA comps. Go ahead and kick to the next one. And then
Before you move on,
dropping off your pre-listing package, which is what Vicki was talking about, net sheets, testimonials, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to kick this down to you guys, Liz, so that you guys can have this complete list. Again, I'm sorry, it wasn't supposed to be shown. This was just kind of what we use as a checklist. That's why it's not pretty. But how about you, Janie? Do you, you can go back to the list for now. Janie, do you have anything that you do prior to the listing before you go?
What I do normally is when I have that initial conversation is I ask them, I wait until I get to their house to ask them what they think their house is worth, because I want to have that, I want to see them in that conversation. And for some reason that gets them talking more. And so I wait till I get there to do that. But I ask them the initial questions. Where are they moving to, number one, and what improvements they've made over the years. And my business is usually repeat and referral also. So I've usually sold them the house, or a friend is referring them to me. So I normally go that route. And then when I get there, a lot of it is just I have them show me the house, and I tell them up front that I needed to see the house. And I have 3 values already in my head, pre-done before I get there, of is their house going to be model perfect, average, or needs some love. So I have those 3 ready. So it's going to be one of those 3. So that's what I do.
Got it. And then the reason that I wanted Janie here too is because I like her listing presentation. I think your listing presentation, it's so personal, and it's so down to earth, and it's so not corporate. And that's one of the things that I really, really wanted to do is, do you mind showing everybody what you bring to your listing appointment and exactly how you do it?
Sure. What I do is, you guys can use mobile hotspot, but I have a MiFi. It's an external MiFi, so I don't use an iPad. I use my computer, because my computer can be, you can see it here, it's kind of like a MiFi, but you can use your iPad, you can use your mobile hotspot, and I have it already on, ready to go, so I don't have to use their connection. And then when I get there, with COVID, I used to send them also a package, but with COVID, everything went completely digital. But I do send them something beforehand usually. Believe it or not, I sent donuts a couple times, and they called me and told me how much they loved it. Or I'll send flowers, and I don't send a big bouquet. I like orchids, so I send something that I like that connects with me. And then I bring this little portfolio, that's all I have, with my computer, and I set it up just like this. And I have already done the comps, everything's ready to go, and I have a little brochure, and I bring them whatever swag. And believe it or not, I got this from Shanaz. And so I have it like this. I have always digital and print, no matter what. Actually, the day before, I emailed them the web presentation of Moxie and a PDF version, because depending on their computer and their savvy, so I do both. I have them on the computer, and then I do the print version of Moxie, a portion here. So I have that in here, and then I bring in seasonal. Hey, summertime, so now it's like beach balls, pads, a little, doesn't have to be some major expensive Starbucks, just a little swag, and then a little of what I'm going to show them, what kind of marketing I'm going to do, and that is this, just listed cards. I bring a calendar for them, and this calendar has turned out to be, a major thing where people really get into. I bring it out during the presentation, say, when do you guys want to move? And oops, I'm going to do this there. It's amazing how they take the calendar into their hands. They take the calendar and they'll say, okay, we want to move in 3 weeks. So they'll mark that, I'll mark it, or they'll mark it, and then we'll start working off of this. And this is my whole goal, is hopefully to leave with a listing, because a lot of times they say they're not ready. So then I ask them, okay, well, when do you want to move by? And usually it's within 3 weeks. So I think 3 weeks, coming soon, 21 days, if I can leave with a listing, we can put it on coming soon for 21 days. So this calendar has actually worked out to be really great. It's a conversation piece. They're looking at it, they're searching. Now they're getting their calendars out of the dates of when they need to move. So this part has worked out really well. And then right here, you'll see this. I don't know if that picks it up. is I have, my marketing is sort of on here because I have all the virtual tours for every single, I have like a half a dozen cities. So whatever city, let's say if it's in Murrieta, I have a virtual tour from Murrieta. So it makes me look like, know that they know and feel confident that I'm in that city. So I've got Riverside, Corona, Wildomar, and I just keep them all there and then pick a city for them, for each one. And then I've got a Moxie on my desktop, just in case this doesn't, in case the PDF, the MiFi doesn't work, I have the Moxie on the PDF on my desktop. So it doesn't matter if for some reason the internet goes out or it's not working, I have the Moxie on a PDF also, along with these virtual tours are all on my desktop, so I don't need internet service in the event something happens. That's it, basically.
Can I add a couple things that
Sure.
I think great? So the thing I thought you'd like, Liz, is she carries that MiFi box with her, just in case you can't get a service or anything like that to her laptop. Again, she keeps all that stuff hardlined on her computer with her, just in case it doesn't work with all those virtual tools. But I do want to say one thing, and I think everybody out there will like this. Peter, are you still on? Because you're going to really like this. Do you mind telling Janie, you went up against the #1 Keller Williams agent in all of Corona and Norco area on a listing, right, in the last year, or about 2 years ago?
Yes.
Do you mind sharing how that went down with going up Coldwell Banker versus Keller Williams, mano a mano you?
It was a referral, so I went on the appointment and they told me up front, he had the newspaper folded in 4s like this. And he told me, Janie, thank you for coming, but you see this guy? I really want to list with him, so I'm probably going to list with him. And I was just going, oh, okay. I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess it's all over. But I just said, just keep on going. And I had all of this, basically, most of this with me. And by the time I got through with everything, and I used CBX. It was like I was just starting to use CBX. And the CBX, I felt, sealed the deal. I mean, I could see it in their faces. I knew I had them. They were like, it's so polished and professional looking. And it gives you such credibility, I think. Mm-hmm. And then I was also prepared with what their comps were in the area, in their specific area. And when they left, I left with the listing.
Yeah, so I mean, they told her, Liz, like when she came in, that like, oh, we're working with the #1 Keller Williams agent. There's no need for you to really talk to us. We already know that this is going to be a done deal. Pulled out the Moxie CBX feature, and she said that they just lit up like a light bulb. It was like a $700,000 or $800,000 listing, which is a big deal.
It's a big deal for me.
Yeah, really big deal. And so that being the case, she ended up walking away with it by using the tools. So, I mean, those of you guys that are not using Moxie and not using the CBX tools.
It just happened again, literally in August. I went on a listing, again a referral. They told me the night before that they were interviewing multiple agents. And I said, okay, and I sent them Moxie, and I decided to do the full version because you can revise it. It can be 100 pages, it can be 150 pages. And I sent them the full thing. And when I walked in the door, they told me they're interviewing agents, and I left with the listing there. And he told me the data was so amazing. I'm going, oh, thank goodness from Moxie. That's kind of cliche, but it was funny, but they did.
I love it, I love it. So Sarah.
Chuck,
Yes, Liz.
Chuck, just really quick, I want to point that out. What you said is that I love that she's using Moxie, and all of you said Moxie, the Coldwell Banker tools. There's no need for us to reinvent the wheel. Coldwell Banker provides these tools for us, and they're great tools, so why not use them, right? That's the one point. The other point that I really like is on your list, that first question, why are you selling? I think that's the #1 question. I'm glad it's the first question you have on your list, because we need to know why they're selling. Is it because of pain, or is it because of pleasure? Are they getting a divorce? Are they having a baby? Are they moving in their parents? We need to know the reason why, so that we can help them make that decision as to sell their home, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Sarah, do you have anything to add? Maybe some unique tools or something that you use on the listing appointment that really helps seal the deal for you?
So it's interesting. You know, I love these morning huddles when we have 3 or 4 people giving their examples of what they do. Because I think the #1 thing for me in this industry is there's so many options. There are so many tools, and sometimes we get paralyzed by choice. And if you can just take a couple of them that work really well for you, you're going to succeed. And, you know, I remember early on in my career asking Peter, you know, who's the best coach? What's the best system to follow? And everybody had opinions, But the best answer I ever got was, it's going to be whatever system resonates the most with you and your personality, because that's what you're going to be able to naturally exude when you're in those presentations. So I love what she does with all of her tech and data. I actually I'm very different in mine, mostly because I'm not great with the tech and the data, and I'm not great in selling certain features. So for my listing presentations, I'm very educational. I sit down and we really talk about the listing process. Like, I don't even go into if they want to use me, if they want to use my marketing. I go into, hey, when we list your house, here's how it's going to work. And so I do have a very similar folder that I bring. And in my folder, I have examples of the marketing pieces that we put out. And I have a similar kind of listing book that I also have digitally that I can send them. So in those pieces, we are leaving tangible things behind, because it is 101 that you leave them something. But in my folder, I also bring a listing contract. And this is not like your typical Tom Ferry listing contract signed today. It doesn't have their name, their property information, doesn't have anything. It specifically says Jane Doe and 123 Main Street, because I don't want them to feel like I'm there for a hard sell. But I'm very comfortable when I'm educating. And so for me, I think I sound far more confident and far more efficient when I'm doing what I'm the most comfortable with. And so I sit down and I go through the contract, because each stage of the contract alludes to a different part of the transaction, timeframes, what we're going to do when we're countering. And so for me, I sit down and I go through the whole thing. I let them know that, I wanted to see the property so I could verify, the upgrades, any additional values I could add. And as soon as I leave, I follow up with 3 emails. One is an actual listing contract for them with an explanation that has their information in. 2 is their value with a net sheet so they can see, okay, when you walk away. And 3 is their mock calendar for, based on the date you want to put it on, here's what we would do. So I think we do very similar things, maybe different orders, and with, speaking to whatever our strengths are.
I love it. I just wanted to give you guys a caveat. And for those that are Associated Brokers, you've heard this a million times, but the Zings, I'll never forget this. They went on a listing appointment, and they were our #1 agent for years. And they were telling me that when they would go on the listing presentations, they were at one time, and they were really, really struggling. They just could not connect with the guy. The guy was kind of being, I'll just say it, it's just us here. He was being an ass. He was really being, sometimes they're just a little rough on us as agents. And Robin thought, we're doomed. We're not going to get this listing. She went into the restroom, and in the restroom there was an airplane, a glass airplane sitting on the bathroom counter. And so then she walked out and she said, by the way, she said, I saw, an airplane, sitting in your bathroom. Do you fly? Are you a pilot? Like what's your, and he lit up like a light bulb, because started talking about the things that he was interested in. And more importantly, Mike also had flown and was a pilot. So all of a sudden the whole thing changed. So one of the things I just thought I'd suggest, the marketing is important, dialing in everything, but boy, if you see something around that house that can strike up a connection conversation, and all of a sudden you guys are like this, that's pretty gold, right? So do you ever do that, Sarah? Are you ever looking for like ways to connect, or like what's your thoughts on the relationship building part of it while you're there?
Absolutely. So, I think being able to meet somebody at their level, finding something that they're comfortable talking about, and really it being about them talking to me, because the more I can get them to talk to me, the more comfortable they become. So any little connection, we can find. And a lot of times we have, because I am lucky enough to be mostly referral, we already have an initial connection. We have whoever's referred them. But yeah, that's one of the first things I try to do. And I try to figure it out in that initial phone call, so that when I get there, I have something, even if it's something I need to research a little more, I have a tidbit that I can go in with and try to draw more out.
Right. I know another thought, and I know everybody knows this already, but I know there's a good chunk of people, especially the top producers, before they go on any listing presentation, they pull up their social media. And you can tell everything that they've been doing. Like, I got on the call today and people are like, aloha, because they know I just got back from Hawaii, which is cool. So that's another great way to connect. But Liz, do you have anything that you want to ask before we move on to the next section, or anything that you want to share?
No, go ahead. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay, cool.
Chuck,
So Robert,
Chuck?
I'm going to roll back to that next one. Yes, go ahead.
I just want, we've got a lot of new agents on the call as well. And I work pretty much by referral, but how we got all of this presenters today working by referral is we started somewhere, and we did start with the listing presentation or something that set us apart from someone, from the other agents. And so I just want to encourage all of the agents out there that are especially new to definitely embrace Moxie, or to brand them in some way that sets them apart, to find that. We used to have, I went to, Karen Beer and I got our license together. And my tagline is, the only house I can't sell is the White House. But Karen Beer, her tagline was the best-selling beer in the Valley for a while. So if you can find something that kind of resonates with you, that sets you apart, that'll certainly help too.
Right. And one other thing that I thought was cool that you guys would like, Janie, can you share a little bit about like how you take care of your clients? So, you talked about personal touch and shopping and things like that. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about how you operate? You mentioned antique stores and things like that.
I think listening is the best thing. I'm not a good talker. I'm a good listener. So I really connect with them in listening, and I remember, I make notes of interest people have and children. So I do throughout the year, I'm always collecting something for my clients, and it is niche things. Like I knew someone liked a collection of marbles, some child, so I bought marbles. I recently, actually last week, just bought a birthday present, sent a birthday present to one of my clients' children that was unique. Nothing monetarily expensive, very actually inexpensive, but maybe unique to their interest.
What was it?
It was a bracelet that you can track. It was an eco bracelet that you could track, a little cute little thing that you could track bears, sharks, anywhere in the world, and they gave you your own shark. And it was like $19.99. And this person has given me so many referrals over the years, and I make sure I think that personal touch, plus I love her daughter, and I love kids, but yeah, it was something a little niche like that. Mm-hmm.
So Janie was saying, Liz, that when she'd go out like shopping, she'd go to an antique store or whatever, she always had her clients in mind, so she would actually see something. They could be into Coca-Cola, whatever. I'm just giving an example. And she sees a Coca-Cola sign and she gets it for them.
I absolutely. Highlight magazines, hey, children love Highlight magazines, really small children. I would send them a subscription to the Highlight magazine. It's very inexpensive throughout the year. It doesn't, and it's not a certain occasion. It's just sending them. You know what? If you love their children, they're going to love you. And I just
love it.
Little niche stuff.
Love it. Okay.
Janie,
yes.
So I'm sorry. So she's basically prospecting before she even has the listing, right? So you put your clients in the front lines. And so yeah, you're looking for things to get that referral in the future. It doesn't
Always.
start when you get the phone
Yes.
call.
Always.
She's also keeping herself
and
very
years.
top of mind with like a subscription type present or something like that. She's constantly top of mind, but without marketing, just as a gift. So
Right.
I mean, yes.
Right.
Good
And
stuff.
I think it's authenticity too. If you're authentic with them, they see that. You can feel that if someone's authentic or not. And I think that's really important too. Just
For
be
sure.
yourself, for sure.
For sure. Okay. So thank you. Okay, so we're going to put this screen back up again that I wanted to share with you guys. So here's the additional pre-listing. We talked about that. Do you have a mortgage? Order the property profile. Verify the owner's name. And that's just one thing. And can you go ahead and switch to the next one? This one's not working. Okay, the next one would be, of course, dropping it off, the net sheets. Testimonials, I think, are really important. I've noticed that all you guys have those in there in your listing presentations, which is great. And I know that you have a blank one, Sarah, but I know a lot of people, some of our superstars, they have their listing agreement still in writing, not just the DocuSign one, where they have actually the 6% commission built in. They prepare and bring the disclosures if need to, but they always bring the listing gift with them or prepare the listing gift. It's a little bit different now, right? But bringing the down arrows of what's happened with, in a typical market, right? Sarah, Liz, everybody. I mean, in a typical market, you can show the price reductions and all that thing that has occurred. Right now, obviously, it's a little bit of an anomaly. Of course, checking out your lockbox, bringing the Zestimate so that you can prove how wrong it is, and ads kind of coming soon into the CB West and Coldwell Banker or CB Buzz private groups. So just a thought. Now we're going to move on to at the listing. This is some of the things that people go over. These are just a list. And by the way, Sarah, Vicky, anybody out there, if you guys have things that you think we're missing, I think these are great little checklists. This is all on one page, and it's got 4 little boxes that I can send you guys if you want them. But if you have a better checklist, we would love to get one that we can improve. So if you have anything, Janie, just let me know. But who pays for what? List of, and another thing that we have is, by the way, here's a list of people that may be interested in your home that we've gotten off of CB Buzz that we're bringing with us. The seller's checklist, showing instructions, special instructions for pets, asking the seller to call or text when the home is shown with info. So, obviously if somebody shows, please text me, let me know so I can follow up with the agent. Ask if there's any seller contingencies, finding a new home. Get the HOA contact information right away. Price reductions after 30 days. Sometimes people will build them into the contracts. Again, right, this market, we don't necessarily need to do that. But some people used to put, okay, look, we'll list it at $699, but if we don't get an offer within 30 days, we're automatically going to make it $675. So just a thought. Prepare the seller to take the first offer. I know that that's not what we're doing now. Boy, how the world has changed. Schedule pictures to be taken in your video tour. Set the schedule for the open houses. Schedule follow-up calls in your calendar. I'm going to call them every week, right? Because you call them. It's a 5-minute conversation. They call you. It's a 20-minute conversation, right, when the seller calls. Present seller with a listing gift and bring lockbox for property. Is there anything else that's really important to you, Janie or Sarah, that when you guys are out on your listing presentations that you want to make absolutely sure you don't miss? Something that maybe you think some people do? Just a thought. Anything you got out there that when you're out running around, Sarah, that you're like, I make sure because I have forgotten X, Y, and Z, I got to make sure I got these pieces. Anything you can think of?
So when I'm actually at the house for the listing presentation, I think most of everything that you've said is kind of what I do. There's always something I forget every time. So it doesn't really matter how many years you do this. I think there's always something, or there's something new and cool that you want to add to it. So, especially for newer agents who are on this call, be flexible, be prepared. But this is such a fluid industry. So one of the things that you just mentioned was those down arrows and how it may not be applicable in today's market. But one of the things that I'm finding applicable in today's market is kind of up arrows. So we have an upward trajectory in our closed sales prices, right? And so I have seen sellers getting a little excited about that upper end and maybe wanting to start there. And so a lot of the conversations right now have to do with, hey, these are the ending prices, but the list price was here and they got here by a bidding war. If you start here, you may not get to that bidding war that gets you further, and you may be lackluster in the amount of offers. So actually having the conversation about the arrows, whatever the arrow is for that market, is really important to set that right expectation for the list price, because the number one thing we can do as agents at these listings is price a house correctly. And so really the entire purpose of this is trying to build a rapport so that when you get to that point where you educate your client on what the list price should be, they buy in. And so having that data available, whether it's up arrows, down arrows, or showing them, like a lot of what I do right now is say, here are the comps that have closed. Look how many of them started $20,000, $30,000 lower to get to that price. Look at the ones that started higher and had to have a reduction. There's
that.
2 trains of thought. Here's my opinion. Here's what I think you should do. What do you think?
I like that. That's a great idea. Anything to add to that, Liz? Pricing?
What about taking a coming soon or even a sold sign so that they can actually feel the feeling of like, okay, this is real, it's happening, let's do it. And it encourages them to sign the contract.
I always bring I bring also like a listing agreement, and I always bring a coming soon, always, because that 21 days is really easy to walk away with the listing if they were thinking about waiting a couple of weeks, because this buys that time. And then it's the truth. I tell them the coming soon, which is it builds momentum for it. And I think it's a great listing tool, coming soon.
For sure. Good point, Liz. Thank you, Janie. Sarah, do you? And I think it is funny too, because I haven't sold a house in it's been like years, right? But I do remember how great it is to always show up that one time without the lockbox, or I show up and like, oh my God, I forgot the listing contract, or because you get so frazzled, which is why we created this list, right? Just to make sure that you don't forget stuff. But luckily, we can all wing it. If you were a newer agent, Sarah, and you were just starting out, and you just were like, I'm going on a listing appointment. I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. Like, what's the bare minimum that you would show up with? And what would be your advice for somebody brand new going out on their first listing appointment? With all you know now, what would you suggest?
Well, the first thing I would tell you is the sellers don't know what they don't know. So unless you tell them you've forgotten something, they don't know that you've forgotten something. So whatever you bring, let that be the main course, right? I pre-prepare my folder. So I do not there's two things that I do that are generic so that I never mess up with those presentations. One, I pre-prepare all my folders. So all I have to do is grab and go, and I keep some in my trunk. So I never can forget my folders. And if that's all I had, I could work off that, no problem. The other thing that I do that I felt like took me a few years to really understand the importance of, and also it was the help of Coldwell Banker and their amazing marketing team, because we have access to photos, videos, Matterport, floor plans for such an incredible price. I have the same marketing package for $100,000 condo as I do for $1 million home. And there may be some additional marketing places I send that stuff for the $1 million home, but my $100,000 condo gets photos, gets a video, gets a floor plan, and gets a Matterport. For two reasons. One, I don't ever want that referral to have seen me marketing somebody else's property differently than their property got marketed. So if they see that I do videos and Matterports for somebody else, I don't want them to feel less than. Two, it really does, it's not necessarily a listing video that sells the property. That's really for my portfolio to help me look like a more seasoned agent, right? So why not take advantage of any listing you have to get your face out there? And then three, the having that consistency. One of the things that, so I just will give you this example. I have a condo that I listed 2 weeks ago, and I got a comment from an agent who's a very good friend of mine, kind, not a mean bone in their body, but the comment was, "Oh, you're slumming it." So it was, it was a lower end condo. What they didn't know is that's my 6th transaction from that person. 6th. I've sold millions of dollars of real estate with that client. There is never a listing that is too low for me. There is never a client who I want to feel less than, the pedestal that we should be putting them all on. So some of my best real estate clients have started with really low end price points. And so I just think that if you can remember that, because it's really hard, especially when you're a new agent and money can be tight because deals are sparse. If you can create something consistent that you do across the board where nobody will ever question, are they going to work hard enough for me? That's really important. I think I got off track. I don't even remember the question, Chuck. Sorry.
No, you did great. You did great. That's the stuff we like.
Hey, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
Chuck, just a quick comment on that. I'm pretty much a high-end residential real estate guy for a lot of years. And I just believe what she just said is one of the most important single things that anybody who ever wants to do the right thing in real estate should do. That was an incredible explanation of why we absolutely have to do the same thing for the least expensive property as we do for the most expensive property. And I just really appreciated it. Thank you so much.
I like it. I was talking to a multi-millionaire real estate agent from New York, Coldwell Banker, and I asked him, and he sold big properties. And I said, what's the secret? What's the secret to your success? And you'll like this, Steve. And he said, I treat the person that's selling their 10-unit complex the same as the person that's looking for a rental. That's what he said. And he goes, that has been the secret to my career. So,
absolutely 100%. And I'm just so proud of that explanation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And anything you want to add? How about you, Vicki? Vicki, you have anything you want to add to that?
I love what Sarah said. I'm just going to go with her. I believe I do the same thing. We've got mobile homes out here that are $30,000, but I treat that client the same way I would treat a high-end client. It's about service. So I appreciate what you said also, Sarah.
Nice. Janie?
Ditto
Okay.
with Sarah.
Okay, good.
Beautiful.
All right, so I'm going to jump back into a couple more of these things at the listing, just to give you guys some things to jog you. So we talked about, assigning a lockbox this is when you get back. When you get back from the listing and you get back to the office, things like putting it in the MLS, minimum 10 photos, assigning a lockbox, ordering your sign up, the welcome letter to the seller, what they can expect. Add the seller to your database, of course, if they're new. Order just listed postcards, which we do automatically. Order photos, your Matterport, your video, your drone, your flyers, depending upon what you do. Provide, this is another thing, I don't know if you guys are using flyers with COVID and stuff still, but I thought this was a great idea. Give the seller 100 flyers so that when the box goes empty, they can put it in the box themselves, so you're not constantly having to drive back and forth to do that. Door knock the neighbors. This is up to you guys. This is for the aggressive people. Door knock the neighbors, 5 to the left, 5 to the right, 10 across. Let them know about the brand new listing right before the sign even goes up. Just a great way to get out there and talk to people. Set the termite appointment, of course, ASAP, get the file to the TC. Another thing, and I'm sure you guys are already doing this, but once in a while, you'd probably agree, Janie, go on coldwellbanker.com, go on realtor.com, go on Zillow. Make sure that the information is transferring over properly. I don't know if you've ever run into that where you get that angry client that's calling you and they're pissed because it's the wrong sales price or the old pictures or, do you guys run into that, Janie?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, I check it.
Yeah, so go check that. Your social media exposure, of course, put that in your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Email the flyers, the digital flyers, which I'm sure you guys are all doing. So as soon as you get that new listing, email that out to not just the neighbors and the just listed cards, but send it out to your actual database showing a new listing that you got. Like you said, Sarah, right, top of mind. Have extra keys made, plan out the seller contact days. So whether it's a Wednesday or a Monday and a Friday or whatever that may be, notify agents of all price reductions, via your closed groups and audit the file often. Anything else that you can think when you get back is one of the just home run items that you do to make sure that you're dialed in? Anything you can think of?
The one thing I've started doing, actually during COVID, is I've started scheduling the videos and the drones and the photography before I even take the listing. Now I tell them I have to take the listing because of the cost, because of the scheduling and the photographers, and it's busy. So that way they're on the market faster than they would have been if we waited until after the listing is taken, and that's been really helpful.
Well, and all my motivational mumbo jumbo says that you're manifesting it. Going in. I've
Oh,
already ordered all my
maybe that's
stuff
so, yes.
before I even go in on that listing appointment. I love that. Sarah, anything else that you can think of when you get back, or because and I think you'll agree with this, Sarah, and I don't know your market as well as ours, but when we take a listing, we've got 6, 10, 20, 30 offers on these properties, and you never get the opportunity to market them anymore. You used to be able to market these properties with listings to get more listings, but right now it's been so short. Is your guys' stuff taken off like that? And how are you, Sarah, marketing your property knowing it's gone so fast?
So yeah, we definitely have a hot market, especially if you've priced it correctly. I tend to, when I sit down with the clients and I'm going over our timeframes and whatnot, I like to list a property on a Monday or on a Wednesday and have the first showings be on Friday. Because I want some of that marketing to go, I'm about 50-50 buyers and sellers. So I know and understand that I set my buyers up with searches, and it doesn't matter that my searches are coming to them syndicated first. They're still looking on their apps, Redfin, Zillow, whatever they're most comfortable with. That's how they're finding properties. So they will literally shoot me a property that I already sent them 2 hours ago, but they didn't look at however I sent it. They're only looking at their apps. So for me, when I sit down with my clients, I say, look, your highest offers are going to come within your first 5 days. However, buyers are looking at their own apps. And so we want to make sure that we give buyers enough time to be able to get into the property so that you can have the most exposure. So if we put the property on the market on a Wednesday and let people in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that gives them Wednesday and Thursday to see the property, contact their agent, schedule their appointment. And inevitably on Wednesday, I'm going to get a phone call from the agent whose client is going out of town and desperate to see the property and can't get in. But here's the problem with that. When buyers are frothing at the mouth and they've been defeated, they want to get in, they want to be the first person, and they want to write you an offer with 1 day to respond. And then it's paralyzing for sellers. Oh my gosh, do I take the bird in the hand or wait for the 2 in the bush? Is this high enough or am I going to get better? And I want to eliminate that from the table. So here's our showing time. Everybody, we want the most exposure possible. Get as many buyers in there. And then let's see what we produce. Don't make them wait a week. Don't prolong it. You're going to get your high offers, but make sure that you get everybody get in, and then you get responses quickly. So I like to really set that stage for them. That way they feel like they got exposure, they got lots of offers, and then they got to respond quickly. And the buyers also feel like they got in, but they got responses quickly and they weren't waiting 1 or 2 weeks. Because the one thing I will tell you about our market, I don't know if you're experiencing this, but we're a hot market. But we are very different right now with the sentiment of buyers. There is buyer exhaustion beyond words right now. I have a property that just went on Wednesday. We let people in starting yesterday, and half the phone calls I'm getting are, oh my gosh, how many offers do you have? How high have you gone? People don't even want to write offers right now, not because they don't love the property, not because it's not perfect for them, but because they're so defeated in A, having lost out on so many, and B, not getting any communication from listing agents. And so I think that one thing we're having to do or see and should be doing anyway is really nurturing that buyer and that buyer's agent and saying, look, I don't know how high this is going to go, but I can promise you your offer will be presented. I can promise you you're going to get clear and honest communication from me. When you call, I'm going to answer. When you text, I'm going to respond. And just that sets you so far apart in the listing world from so many of these listings. But I think we need to be careful and sensitive to the fact that buyers walk in, they see a beautiful property, they have a huge smile, and immediately that smile goes away because their first feeling is, oh, I'm not going to get this. And that's kind of where they stand.
Janie?
No, I was just thinking Friday I had an open house 5 to 8 on a little house that I ended up having 13 offers, and the buyer walked in and he had an agent, he told me, and he practically begged. He was almost crying, and I was at the end of when he was walking out. It's okay, it'll be okay. He had a house to sell. He had a condo to sell. It's going to be okay. You just need to get your condo sold first. And he was like begging, and I felt so bad for him.
I know. What are you going to do, huh?
Yeah.
You know, I just in terms of listings, I see Penny's on here too, and Penny or Karen. Do you guys have anything that you want to add? Anything that is maybe an angle that you don't think we're hitting? I'll start with you, Karen, then we're going to go to you, Penny. Anything you see out there, Karen, that you want to add that's important for pre-listing, listing appointments, all those sorts of things?
You know, Chuck, the most important thing that I see is that you have to work to get a listing. That's the key. These ladies are showing what they have prepared. That takes time, that takes work. You can't just show up because they want to list their property, because you're going to be competing against others. So I think that the most important message that we need to get from all of these magnificent ladies and top listing agents is the fact that they have prepared, they have put thought into it. They have a plan and they have a system that takes you to the top. So especially for those newer agents, I hope that you took notes. If not, make sure that you go back to listening to this call today, because if you don't do what they are doing, you're not going to be able to differentiate yourself from the rest as they do.
I like that, Karen.
One thing.
Good.
And one thing that Karen always says that one of the ladies also said is we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we do need to listen to our clients. And as realtors, we love to talk, right? Chuck loves to talk. I love to talk. We all love to talk, and we want people to listen to us. But in reality, when we're going to listing appointments, we need to remember that we're there for them, and we have to learn to listen so that we can get those key nuggets and know how to close the deal. The only way we're going to close the deal is if we listen to their needs.
I love that.
Absolutely. Not only listen to their needs, Liz, yes, you've heard me say that a gazillion times. It is making sure that you ask the right questions, because sometimes they know their wants, but not necessarily their needs. That's what we need to find out, what their true needs are.
Love it, love it. Penny, do you have anything to add?
No, just bravo to everyone. It's hard to add when you have so many experienced people who are so willing to share from an honest place. And the thing I'd highlight is the strategic process. You know, I mean, there's so much strategy that goes into these things that we're hearing. And think about it that way, that when Sarah talks about the planning of coming on a Wednesday and responding to offers, it's strategy. And I love to advise agents to let your clients know that what you do is very strategic. It's not that you just put a sign in the yard. And so really bravo for all of the great advice here. If I may touch on something about Sarah's comment on managing every single client with the same respect, that is so important. I want to differentiate that doesn't mean you don't use strategy as an agent to increase your price point. Those are two different things, right? Because I know personally I've coached a lot of agents to say, gosh, you're a gem, you're amazing. What you're delivering is amazing. Let's work on increasing your price point so that you can earn more income. So for anyone I've coached on that level, I just want to say, yes, we treat everyone with great respect, whether they're, the $80,000 mobile home or the $8 million listing. But there's a great strategy we can use as agents to increase our price point. And I hope that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. And one of the things, I love that. Thank you, Penny. One of the other things I wanted to add that I thought was great with Karen is in our Monday Motivations, we were reading like Wooden's books and all this different stuff. And there was a talk about like NFL football players and how much time and practice and sprints and catching the ball and everything that they do just for the 2 to 3 hours of the actual game. Like how much time, all right, and this may just go back to Karen's point, how much time do they spend preparing for that 1 hour? And the game is only really 1 hour of game time, and half of that is offense and half of that is defense. But it is, I agree with you, Karen, it is important to make sure, because we still get people all the time. And I'll tell you, at the management level, Bob and Tom and Carrie, we can all tell you how many times we get a call from somebody saying, I'm taking a listing. I have nothing. They want to meet today at 5. What do I do? They're just absolutely and totally 100% unprepared. So I agree with you, Penny. I agree with you, Karen. Like to have your system dialed in and your strategy and everything when you go in is really important, right? Because this right here, how many of these do you have and how many times have you used the same system?
Oh, infinite, many.
And you could probably close your eyes and present that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a little niche, a little different for each person. You try to figure out how you can, like you said, like the zings, how you can connect with someone.
Correct.
It's really important.
And that really is everything, huh?
Yeah. Yes.
So absolutely great. Carrie Guthrie, do you have anything that you want to add about listing presentations, pre-listing presentations, relationships, to get the deal? Anything you want to add? Are you on there, Carrie?
Well, I'm driving. I hope you can hear me.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. Well, the biggest thing that I talk to agents about is really emphasizing the big brand. And I could have missed that when I was getting in and out of my car, loading up. But
Nope, you're good.
Emphasizing the brand and how many properties we sell and at the value we sell at, I think is huge. So that sets us apart from the other smaller offices and the other smaller brands. So that's the only thing I have to add. These ladies are wonderful.
Janie
That's
said
a
that she
great
doesn't.
point, Carrie. Sorry, Chuck. That was a great point. It's Evelyn. I also wanted to add that one of the things that I always did was set up a second appointment once I knew the listing, we were going forward with the listing, to go over the contract that we would be getting from the buyers so we could prep the sellers and make negotiation a whole lot easier. And that's something that really worked well. This market may be a little different, but I still think prepping your sellers for what the contract coming in is going to be very helpful.
Awesome.
Evelyn, I feel that it's still very important and relevant now because we're in a digital world and they get the contract, they never read it. So I used to also, one of the communications after listing was a copy of the contract for them to preview and ask any questions. But in today's world with this and the new contract coming out, that's going to be 16 pages. It's really, that's our value. That's what we provide them. This is what we know. And they sign things without even reading them. So I think it's still very relevant.
And Sarah had talked about her style as education, and that really is the way we educate our homeowner and the trust. It just builds that trust and it builds raving fans.
Love it. Love it.
Hey, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
I think it's critical also that we do not become complacent with success. I think there's an awful lot of agents that are so good at it that they don't prepare the same way they did when they had fear that they didn't completely have the market captured. So I've seen a lot of really, really top producing agents not prepare the same way as they did when they became top producers. I think it's real important to remember that every next listing is a first introduction to somebody who who does not know everything that you do, and that you need to prepare in the same way that you did when every listing was a struggle.
Hey, Steve, can I chime in on that?
Please.
Yeah, so, Steve, the thing I'm thinking is that idea that we who are maybe not that top listing agent in that big market feels intimidated. But what you just said is such a great opportunity for an agent to be more prepared, to do their practice, to really polish up their presentation. You would be amazed how much you can wow a client compared to going in against none of the top producers on this call, but top producers in a market area. So many of them have become complacent. So I think you're just raising a fantastic kind of competitive advantage for an agent who is coming in without that market share to really show where you differentiate.
Chuck.
Yeah, Penny, I think it's also very obvious that sometimes you'll see a really, really top listing in a community that comes on the market with a no name. Well, that's because the no name went in and absolutely offered more, gave more, committed more, and convinced the people that even without a brand, sometimes they were able to get the listing, and you just are shocked. And what that is that's not them. That's the complacency of the other people who felt it was going to be a slam dunk. So yeah, I think it's
Sarah,
really.
Yeah, Sarah's
really
point, what she was saying earlier, Steve, that she answers the phone and she follows up, and that's like setting the listing agent bar really high. So, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chuck, I love what Steve just said. I noticed in the last 6 years, all of my business is repeat and referral. It's like 150%. You can never take it for granted. I go in there 150% prepared like it was someone I didn't even know, even though I know them. It just doesn't matter because they all know more than one agent. And it's loved what he said.
Me too. And it kind of brings me back to a couple of the little things that I think you guys will all agree with. Don't not give your best friends full attention and the full listing presentation and everything. Don't give your brother, oh yeah, I got you, show them, right? I mean, still perform at your top level. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So, okay, so we have 1 minute left. Sarah, do you have any closing comments before we head out? We got about 30 seconds.
Chuck, before Sarah closes, can I just say something real fast? I always tell my agents, whether you're going on a listing presentation or you're going to be showing properties to buyers, I ask the question, what is it that you're looking for? What are you trying to get? Inevitably, I get the answer, getting the listing or writing the contract. I always say, and somebody mentioned it, and it's true. What you need to have in mind is you need to go in making sure that you earn their trust. And for that, you need preparation.
Agreed. Sarah, close us out.
All right, my 2 tidbits are this. There are a ton of different strategies. Find the one that you're most confident with, because that will always put you leaps and bounds above the next person when you go in and you're exuding confidence in however you present it. 2 is take advantage of the discounted marketing that Coldwell Banker has available for us. The cost for the photos, the Matterport, the floor plans, the videos, it is minimal compared to what other agents are having to pay, and it will set you apart. So if you just did those 2 things, find something you're confident in and offer that package, you will already be doing more than most of the people you're competing with.
Love it. Okay, well, hey, I want to say thank you very much, Liz. Anything else before we head out of here?
Use our marketing. Coldwell Banker has amazing marketing, and if you're not using it, you're trying to reinvent the wheel, you're wasting a lot of precious time. We have very, very valuable and smart, intelligent marketing teams, so use them.
Agreed. And you know what? If you're a new agent, you can win with use it. Use the Matterports, all that stuff. So thank you guys very much. We did run over. Janie, thank you. Vicki Carpenter, thank you. Really appreciate you, Sarah, Liz, everybody out there. Hopefully you got something good out of today. And hopefully you're sharpening up your packages, have a strategy, get ready to go, build relationships, and go get some listings this weekend. All right, guys.
Send us the list, Chuck.
You got it. You want that crappy list? I'll make it look pretty first. How's that?
Send the crappy one.
All right, okay. All right, guys. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Go out there, sell something, and take some listings. And thank you, ladies. We appreciate you very much. And we are out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.